Hello everybody and welcome to our 6 in 6 podcast and video series. I'm Ben Kaysen, joined by Jacob Sandoval.
Yes, sir.
For our fourth team, we are talking about the best team last year, the South Colts.
Yeah, and the South Colts, like you were saying, #1 team, they won the 4A state championship. Really quality team. A lot of people on that team have left that team though. And we're going to break it down and show you what's up.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the South Colts last season, and it was kind of a miracle run. A team full of seniors, like chocked full. You had their starting quarterback, most of their O-line, pretty much all their receivers, their starting running back, and most of the defense. They were all seniors last year, and they made this great run, finished on a high note, but now Coach Goddard is left to kind of have the wake of having all those seniors, and that is you have a lot of inexperienced players this year.
Yeah, and we look at it and doing research, they had 54 people on the team, and 24 of those people were seniors. So that's almost half the team just gone. And now you got to find new people to replace those other ones.
Absolutely. So let's digest a little bit of how last season went for them. So really the big win that they had that everyone's going to remember is against Pine Creek in the championship game. They won that game 25-14. But also on their playoff run, they were able to beat Broomfield and Vista Ridge. And they also were able to handle East in the Cannon game 34-19 last year. So this team only had one loss last season. That was in a wild game against Pueblo West, 55-54 in double overtime. So this season, this is a team really that kind of doesn't really know how to lose. And they just went out and lost the first game of their season. So now they've lost as many this year as they have last year. So we'll see what they can do with that.
Yeah, and if we look back at those playoff games, they kept all those teams under 14 points. Well, exactly at 14 points. And then when it came to the championship game, they only allowed 19 points. So their defense was really a big key for them there.
Yeah, their defense was a little bit underrated last season. But you look at the way they stepped up, it was big. We saw that Pine Creek squad, they were able to handle Pueblo West both times they played them. And so it really came down to Pueblo West is a running offense, and South was able to just pass the ball all over the yard. It was like watching the 2014 Broncos with Peyton Manning at the helm. I mean, this team last year for the Colts was so dynamic passing the ball. I mean, like record-setting whenever it comes to that, especially here in Pueblo.
Yeah, and that's the thing about teams is it's really exciting when you have a team that goes a lot of run and then a team that goes a lot of pass. And you get to watch them play with each other and see what's going to be better, the run or the pass. And then in this situation, Pueblo West was able to pull through with that run game.
So let's cut the talk about last year. So who are some key players that we're looking at this season?
So key players this season have to be Logan Pettit on the offensive side. And then also we're looking at Connor Huth, who is also on the offensive side, and he's the running back. Pettit is the quarterback.
Yeah, Logan Pettit got some cleanup action last season in some of those blowout wins. Now he's going to be taking over as the starter, so we're going to wish him the best of luck. He's got a little bit of high expectations taking over for Cozzolino, but you look at Logan Pettit, he's got a really live arm, and I feel like he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the SCL this season.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch because he's brand new in that quarterback position, because you have Zach Cozzolino last year who just dominated the game. And now he has to step up and fill those shoes, which is pretty hard if you ask me.
Yeah, already Pettit's off to a pretty good start this season with his new young receivers. So also you look at Connor Huth last year. He got 5 yards a carry in his games he played in, 5 games last year. He was also kind of a cleanup duty running back, and he was kind of the change of pace guy to Steve Brock. And so this year, the question for him is going to be, can he carry the bulk of the ball? I mean, in game 1, he got 22 carries. So this is a guy who we're all going to be watching this year to see if he can provide that level of production.
So Ben, let's switch gears to the defense and talk about some of the big defensive players that South has.
Yeah, so one of the main guys is Cody Graham, a third-year starter this year. He's going to be an important player for the secondary because last year he played very well. And he's one of the few guys on this team that had a major role last season that's going to return this year as a player with some experience. So he's going to have to show off that experience, especially in big games like the Cannon game or in the playoffs, to these younger guys who are going to get chances on the D.
Yeah, he's the safety on that defense, and he just flies around and tries to get those tackles. It's really exciting to see this kind of energy from this player who's now going to be an upperclassman and take over that leadership position that they really need help with right now.
Yeah, this is a really important year for Kobe Graham. And another couple guys that I'm looking at are R.J. Michelai, Braden Christie, and Ryan Montoya. All three of those guys play both sides of the ball. So it's going to be important for them to kind of get into a groove early on the defensive side as well as make some plays on the offensive side.
Yeah, and we even got to talk to Ryan Montoya, and he's an outside linebacker, and he's one of those other guys who also just crashes the line hard and just flies around and gets tackles.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these guys, they're a very interesting group of these three because really last year when they were playing, they played pretty well. But like a lot of the guys on the team, they really didn't get a lot of chances. So we're going to go ahead and cut to those interviews. So we got an interview with Coach Ryan Goddard, Braden Christie, and Ryan Montoya. Enjoy.
I'm here at Dutch Clark Stadium with the coach of the South Colts, Ryan Goddard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right.
Good.
I'm Jacob Sandoval, and we'll be talking about football.
Awesome.
And while we're talking about football, you guys are the reigning 4A state champions, but you have been bumped down to 3A. How is that? Like, what are your feelings towards being bumped down to 3A after being 4A champs?
Well, I mean, every year is so different in high school, and you know the Colorado High School Activity Association. You know, they set the classifications, and you know, this was a year where it was a new cycle and a new 2-year cycle, and you know, our numbers you know, had us right in the middle of the 3A classification. So we're actually like the 21st largest 3A school, which, you know, I mean, I guess when you think about it, considering what we did last year with, you know, such a small enrollment, when, you know, comparing to other 4A schools was, you know, really significant. But, you know, you play where your numbers are, and you play where the state tells you to play, and set your schedule and go out and play the game. So we're excited about the opportunities we have. There's a lot of good football in 3A. There's a lot of good football programs and players and coaches, and it's going to be full of challenges.
Yes, sir. And because you had 54 players on your team last year, and 24 of them were seniors, I was looking at it, and that's what it seemed like. What is that going to be like now? Do you have the personnel to kind of step up and replace those seniors in their very vital positions they had?
You know, we lost quite a few seniors from last year, but we also have a lot of kids coming back, as you know, pointed out. You know, as far as kids on the field experience, taking a whole lot of reps, we've got, you know, about 4 on defense. We really only have about 1 on offense right now. But, you know, this is kind of a unique year that, you know, we don't have a whole lot of experience as far as on-field play, but we've got a bunch of seniors and guys that have been in our program and are eager to get going. And, you know, we're excited about what we have in our program right now. Right. Pettit, Logan, you know, he's had a great summer. You know, obviously we're always in an evaluation period, but Logan's really stepped up to the challenge, and you know, he's grown tremendously the off season, and he's shown a lot of good things this fall camp. And like I said, we're excited about a lot of kids in our program, and you know, Zach was a tremendous player and really special. We got a lot of guys that made that thing go last year. Just, you know, hopefully we'll have a lot of guys that make that thing go this year. So that's what we're really looking forward to.
Excellent. And I was looking at your roster and just wondering, who are the big defensive players who are going to step up this year? I know Cody Graham did a really good job last year covering the outside. I just wanted to know
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Kobe Graham was in the secondary for us. Actually, he'll be a 3-year starter this year. Ryan Montoya, outside linebacker, was fantastic for us last year as well. Braden Christie inside, Andy Smith at defensive end, and you know, those are the 4 guys we have coming back defensively with a lot of experience. And you know, I think all of our guys look to them and as a leadership role, as well as, you know, that understand that they've been through a lot of tough battles and tough tests. And so we got good things going for us. You know, defensively, those 4 guys are going to lead us, and I think we're in good hands with them.
Right on. And last question, what are the goals you have set for yourself this season when it comes to offense, defense, scoring-wise, rushing?
Sure. I mean, we're more of a process oriented goal team. So we talk about just being the best version of ourselves, trying to get better each and every day. You know, sometimes those things are tough to measure, but you know, those are the things that establish growth throughout the year. You know, one of our things that we always go by is chase excellence, and you know, just trying to improve each and every day. You know, obviously there's always outcome goals that we try to establish. Those are within the program, and Everything for us just comes back to that process-oriented goal and how we're going to get better and how we're going to try to achieve.
Excellent. Well, thank you for meeting with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm here with Ryan Montoya.
Montoya, yes, sir.
Yeah, and we are going to talk South football. And you've been a part of this team for a while now.
Yes,
and I just want to ask, what do you guys think is going to happen? You guys did lose a lot of seniors, but I know you guys are eager to fill their shoes.
Just kind of like I've said in the past interviews, taking it game by game, just seeing these new faces, seeing what they can do is really going to be important to me, seeing which guys can step up and prove themselves to everyone.
Excellent. And then I was also wondering, when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, who do you think are going to be some key players there?
I think one of the biggest guys on the edge will be Jackson Dickerson and Cedric Tillman, 2 wide receivers. I think they'll both have a pretty good year. We have Connor Huth stepping up at running back. He's doing really good. And Pettit, just new weapons on the field, and we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. And with all this stuff changing from 4A to 3A, do you feel like that has any bearing on how you'll perform or how your team will perform, or do you think that's out of the question?
I really think it's out of the question. Just because you move down a level doesn't mean the competition's worse. If anything, it'll be better. Kids want to play harder because they're in the lower division. I think the competition will stay the same.
Excellent. And is there anything else you want to say before you start the season off?
Nope, just want to start strong.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm here with Braden Christie, and he is a big player for South. Braden, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. So as I was talking with the other guys, you guys have lost a lot of seniors. How do you feel like that's going to work with the dynamic of your team now?
Well, yeah, there are some good weapons to have, but it's not like those guys weren't there. They're definitely there in the background. They get in the reps and all that stuff. So it's going to be a good showing for them to come up, and we'll see how we do this year. I think we're going to be all right.
And when it comes to leadership, who do you think is going to step up the most?
Well, a lot of the starters from last year, so some of the juniors like Ryan Montoya, Fez, and Kobe, myself, and a couple other dudes. And the quarterback, Logan Pettit, he's going to be coming up, stepping up pretty good. He's been doing very well.
Excellent. And I got to ask, so when you are out there, do your thing, what is the best part of your job when you go out there?
My best part is just to be on the field and just doing what I love to do with my friends and all my family watching. It's just a good environment to be around, and it's just a good experience to have for someone. I just love being out on the field.
So thanks again to Braden Christie, to Ryan Montoya, and to Coach Goddard for doing interviews with us. We really appreciated their time, and I always thought it was really interesting what they were talking about. I mean, they seem like they're ready to step up as leaders, Montoya and Christie. So we're going to hope they can get that done this season.
Yeah, and I asked a lot about whether or not they were ready because they lost so many seniors. I did ask a lot of questions to the coach and the players about whether they thought they were ready, and they said there was no question that they were super hyped for this season, ready to get going.
So let's talk about some of those big seniors they lost. And let's just say this is a long list of quality players. So for me, it starts with the guy who I feel like was the MVP of Pueblo last year, maybe the entire 4A classification, Zach Cozzolino. He ended up with 48 pass touchdowns. And you look at that, South High School's previous record for pass touchdowns in the season, 17. So
yeah,
a bit record-breaking there.
This kid was throwing dimes all the time and connecting with his receivers, getting good reads. It was just amazing to see Zach Cozzolino just work that ball, work that position as quarterback, and just get touchdowns after touchdowns after touchdowns.
I was really impressed with Cozzolino all season, and really, I was pretty hyped when I found out that CSU Pueblo got him as a commit. He's going to be developing in CSU Pueblo's system. Maybe he'll come up and make some noise at our level as well.
Yeah, so this year he's redshirting. So.
Yeah. Work on being a college level QB. So some other big losses. Steve Brock ended up with 7 yards a carry last season and 14 touchdowns in a big pass-based offense.
Mm-hmm. And that's really impressive because they're not that team like West, like we were talking about, that just likes to march the ball down the field. They're looking for the passes. They're looking to read the defense. But when you can make 14 touchdowns in a very pass-oriented offense, that's good for you. Like, just a great player, and you can tell by how many times they gave him the ball.
And then it doesn't stop there. All three of their stud receivers last year, Marcel Barbie, Jeremy Cody, he was their tight end, he's on as well. Thomas Panunzio, he made a lot of big plays in special teams in the secondary as well as a quick receiver. They're all gone, so some big holes to fill right there.
Yeah, and we see that a lot with these Pueblo teams now is they're losing a lot of experience and a lot of seniors and having to replace that. But every team we talked to so far say they're confident in what the younger guys have to offer.
And so now we can look at some of the other names that are going to be going as well. And for most teams, they would get a lot more recognition for this team was so loaded. So they're also going to lose Parker Stevens on the defensive side, Jesse Anzar, the third wide receiver, and then in the O-line, three big guys, Dom D'Angelo, the center, Philip Flores, and Kyle Ahmiller all graduated as well. So that's some big shoes to fill for sure on both sides of the ball for the team. So what are your questions for this team this year?
So my questions on for the team this year is, what are they going to do with both sides of the ball? How are they going to fill those positions that they lost? How is their gameplay going to change? As we know, the first game they lost. And so does that have anything to do with all that lack of experience now? Or was that just a fluke and they're just going to get rolling once again like they did last year?
Yeah, I feel like they're going to have to step up like you're talking about. Another thing that I want to look at is Logan Pettit is now going to be put in the position that Zach Cozzolino is in. And from what it sounded like, it's going to be a very similar type offense. We saw that in week 1, where it's still very spread-oriented. You have the quarterback having to make some throws. The quarterback's got to be a playmaker. So can Logan Pettit run this South Colts offense effectively?
Yeah, a lot of pressure on him, but like a lot of people, especially in sports, like a lot of people do well under pressure. And we might see that from Logan Pettit this year.
Yeah, he very well could be like a Steve Young or an Aaron Rodgers. Come in, unknown, take over, and potentially better than the first guy. You never know what happens. And then also, who on the defensive side is going to step up and cover the number 1 receivers in the SCL? And the main guy I'm looking at is a guy out at East, Kane Medrano. Do they have anybody on the team now who can cover him one-on-one? Last year, that was Marcel Barbie's job and one of the more intense showdowns whenever they did the Cannon game.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to look at Cody Graham for that because he's the one who flies around all over the place. And when you're that player, you got to be the guy who makes those plays to kind of shake that other offensive player who's just killing the game.
And the guy I'm looking at actually is Travion Collins, a guy who we saw a lot of at basketball games for South, who would come off the bench and do a really good job. That guy's an athlete, and this year he's stepping up playing football, listed as a corner. He's going to be a guy who I expect could be South's version of Darrelle Revis even. A guy who can put on a guy and shut them down. I think he's going to be important for him to get off to the season on a good leg. So let's talk about their schedule this season. Like you said, week 1 they had a matchup at Holy Family, which is all the way up in Broomfield. So they had to go all the way up there. A tough road matchup in week 1. And they lost that one 19-7. But this team, I feel like they can bounce back from a loss.
Oh, especially a loss like this. It wasn't a blowout by any means. So they just probably got slowed down. I wasn't able to watch the game, but they probably just got to a slow start and just couldn't recover. But I'm sure they're going to bounce back with the Erie game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that game, 4 turnovers for South. That's the key. Logan Pettit did throw the ball pretty good. I was pretty impressed. And 2 guys who stepped up, Cedric Tillman and Jackson Dickerson, look to be the new Marcel Barbie and Thomas Panunzio. Big guys who can get big receiving yards, both of them over 100 yards in the first game. So there's definitely some bright spots in the loss there. It's a lot about tightening things up and trying to get back to where they're at. So like you talked about, some big games on their schedule. Erie looms large. That team went all the way to the 3A finals last year. And then Palmer Ridge, a team in out of conference. Last year, they went 14-0. They dominated, won 3A. That's a matchup that is going to be pretty exciting, the 4A champs against the 3A champs. So that's one that we're looking at. And then in the in-conference schedule, the big one is the Cannon game with East.
Yeah, and the Cannon game is one of those rivalries that it always shakes Pueblo like the most, especially when you have that big cannon out there and those kids are just really excited to just win that game and get the Cannon for themselves.
Absolutely. So what are some keys to the big Cannon game coming up this year, East versus South?
So South really needs to look at that pass game. And when they look at that pass game, they got to be careful because East does have some guys who can cover the ball out there. But I do not think they will be very successful with the run game. We saw East play, and we saw their stellar defensive line that just penetrated the offensive line time and time and time again.
Yeah, so I mean, that's important as well. But I'm also looking at, I think they need to put a lot of pressure on Luke Andrada, the quarterback for East, with these athletic linebackers like we saw. So I think Montoya is a big guy in that. Braden Christie as well. Get pressure on Andrada. Make him make those throws a little bit quicker than he wants to make. I think that's going to be important. Also, you can't single cover Kane Medrano. That's going to be important for almost any team that plays against them this year. So you gotta play a little bit of double coverage, a little bit to help each other out there. So I think a combination of Collins and Cody Graham could get the job done.
You could be right, Ben. You could be right.
So let's go ahead and talk about what do you have for this year's predictions for the South Colts within the new SCL? They moved down from 4A to 3A with this league with teams like East, County, Central, Centennial, Durango. Where you got them out of those 6?
I'm going to have to put them at number 3, Ben. It's tough because, they have played so well, but I do not think they have enough experience on defensive side and the offensive side to be one of those top 2 teams that make it into the championship. So I'm going to have to say that East will take the Cannon game, and South will unfortunately be number 3.
I've got South as number 2, but I agree that they're behind East. I think that South is better than Durango still. I have a lot of faith in Coach Goddard. I feel like he's been developing guys. It's not like it was just pure talent on this team. It was a well-coached squad, and I feel like that's something that's going to come back this year for him.
Yeah, but my worries is with that Durango team. I think they definitely have something to prove when they're coming into SCL with all Pueblo teams, and they're the only ones left out.
Yeah, can they upset the card?
That's what they want to do.
So we thank you for listening to our 6 and 6 for the South Colts. So for Ben Kaysen, Jacob Sandoval, for all the people who helped us out, along with Ryan Montoya, Braden Christie, and Coach Goddard, we really thank those guys for doing the interview and for really the South Athletic Department. Thank you for watching 6 and 6. Up next, we got those Centennial Bulldogs.
That's what's up.